January 17, 1943. A cold dawn breaks over the Bavarian town of Schweinfurt, its medieval spires piercing through layers of winter fog. In the underground bunker of the Wehrmacht's Strategic Command Center, General Wolfram von Richthofont sits hunched over reconnaissance photographs, a cup of ersatz coffee growing cold beside him. The images show American bomber formations B-17s. They call them lumbering giants that Allied propaganda claims will darken German skies. Von Richthofen permits himself a thin smile. The Luftwaffe has faced British bombing for years. What could the Americans possibly add that would change the arithmetic of this war? Outside, church bells toll the hour. Within 18 months, those same bells will melt in the firestorm of American incendiary bombs, and von Richthofen will be dead. His final reports describing a phenomenon the German High Command refused to believe until the sky itself caught fire. The story of Germany's industrial awakening, too. American power is not one of a single battle, but a gradual, horrifying realization that unfolded across the skies of the Third Reich between 1943 and 1945. It is the story of men who had conquered a continent discovering that conquest means nothing when your enemy can rebuild what you destroy faster than you can destroy it. Who can put more steel in the air in a single afternoon than your entire nation produces in a month? For the German generals who had orchestrated blitzkrieg across Poland, France, and deep into Russia, the concept of industrial warfare existed only in abstract terms. They had seen factories. They had read production reports. But they had never truly understood what it meant when a nation of 130 million people, protected by two oceans, decided to turn every farm, every town, every city into an arsenal of democracy. In 1942, German intelligence estimated American aircraft production at approximately 12,000 planes per year. It was a respectable figure, certainly, but nothing that would fundamentally alter the balance of power. The Luftwaffe had shot down thousands of British aircraft and remained dominant over continental Europe. German factories, despite Allied bombing, continued to produce Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs at rates that, according to Reich Minister Albert Speer's calculations, would ensure air superiority for years to come. What the German High Command did not know, what they could not conceive, was that American production in 1942 had already reached 47,000 aircraft. By 1944, that number would climb to 96,000. Not 9,600, 96,000. In a single year, American factories would produce more aircraft than Germany had built in the entire war. The first real glimpse came on August 17, 1943, when the 8th Air Force launched a coordinated raid against Schweinfurt and Regensburg. 376 B-17 flying fortresses crossed into German airspace, each one a four-engine monster carrying 5 tons of bombs and bristling with 13 50 caliber machine guns. The Luftwaffe responded with everything it had: Me-109s, FW-190s, even experimental rocket fighters. German pilots threw themselves at the American formations with suicidal courage, and they exacted a terrible price. 60 B-17s went down that day. 600 American airmen died or were captured. In the debriefing rooms of the Luftwaffe, champagne corks popped. 60 bombers destroyed. At that rate of attrition, the American bombing campaign would collapse within months. The mathematics seemed irrefutable, but then came the intelligence reports from neutral Switzerland, from Sweden, from the network of spies and informants that still operated across the fractured continent. The Americans had already replaced those 60 bombers. Not in months, not in weeks, in days. Within 72 hours of the Schweinfurt raid, 60 fresh B-17s had arrived in England, straight from American factories. Flown across the Atlantic by crews barely old enough to shave, and behind them came 60 more, and 60 more after that, an endless silver river of aluminum and steel, pouring from a continent that German submarines could no longer reach, that German bombers would never touch. General Adolf Galland, commander of the Luftwaffe's fighter forces, understood first. In his memoirs, he would write of the moment he saw the production figures, verified by 3 independent sources, each one confirming what should have been impossible. I felt, he wrote, as a man must feel who has wagered his life on a single hand of cards, and who watches as his opponent calmly reveals, not a better hand, but an entirely different game. One with rules he never knew existed. Galland took the reports to Hermann Göring, Reich Marshal of the Luftwaffe, the man who had promised Hitler that no enemy bomber would ever reach Berlin. Göring dismissed the figures as Allied propaganda. When Galland insisted on their veracity, Göring accused him of defeatism. The truth was simply too large to fit inside the Nazi worldview. The symbolic power of American abundance manifested in the strangest places. German fighter pilots who survived encounters with B-17 formations spoke of a detail that haunted them more than the firepower, more than the numbers. When an American bomber was hit and broke apart, its debris field would scatter across the sky, and among the twisted metal and burning fuel, German pilots reported seeing something that seemed impossible: fresh oranges. Whole bright oranges spilling from the wreckage, fruit that had vanished from German markets in 1940, that existed now only in children's memories and old paintings. The Americans packed fresh citrus fruit in their bombers as routine rations, while German soldiers on the Eastern Front boiled leather for soup. American crews ate fresh California oranges at 25,000 feet and threw the peels out the window. That single